I'm Perry Williams, and this is Coach's Corner. And along with me today is Hamilton Heights basketball coach Chad Ballenger. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know last week you had well, heck, the last this will be the third weekend of double duty.
That's right.
That's something you usually like to do, though.
That is.
Because you got to prepare for tournament.
That's right. I love the Friday, Saturday gives us that sectional weekend where you got to win on Friday and semis and then play that championship game on Saturday. So we treat every double weekend as getting us ready for March for that double Friday, Saturday championship. Well,
let's talk about a little bit about this season before we go in and talk about your upcoming games. But you know, you opened up with Lebanon. They were 2-2, and actually you lost the first 3 games, but you played pretty good basketball and you played some good teams. I mean, Lebanon 2-2 now, Mount Vernon's 4-1, and Newcastle 5-0.
Yeah, it's a good tough way to start. Very good talent and very talented teams, but that's what we want. We made an effort a few years ago to really change our schedule and upgrade it. I think it's paid off for us. It's made us better. Maybe we don't have as many wins as what we had those few years, but I just feel like to make a real good run in March, you need that schedule. And a few years ago, I think we went 17-3, and we got beat by Muncie Central in the sectional. And I said we got to change something. So I went out and tried to pick up the 4A teams that I could, that I thought would really prepare us from an athletic standpoint. And a lot of those games were, if we played 20 times, we weren't going to win any of them, but it was a chance to see a different type of athlete. And I think it'll eventually pay off for us. The Lebanon and the Mount Vernons and the Newcastles have been so good over the years. It's just really good to play them. Some of those I'd like to play later in the year, but scheduling is so hard to do and get those matchups and get the right weeks. But we've really got us a good schedule, and I've always said that if somebody said you can go 10-10 during the year but make a good run in March, that's what you want, and I'll take it. Obviously, we want to win as many games as we can, but you want to be prepared.
And then you went second of December, you went to Guerin Catholic, which is always a tough place to play.
And
then, of course, you're playing against Pete Smith.
Yeah.
And he's a great coach. He's got a great coaching staff. And he has a couple of very good basketball players.
Oh, yeah. I said they're the kings of 3A basketball. I mean, they've won 2 state championships. I had somebody ask me why we were so excited in our locker room after we beat them, and I said, well, they've won 2 state championships. I think Coach Smith is one of the best around, and it's a credit to them that they've built it up to that way. That it's been kind of a rivalry, and that's the teams that you want to beat. And we've actually beat them 3 times in a row, and we feel good about that. It's something that's turned into. We've got that marked on our calendar that it kind of shows where we're at, and I know by the end of the year, Guerin's going to be really good with a lot of wins, and that's a good quality win for us.
And and the good thing for you is you went on the road over there, because in my mind, because we broadcast that game for you guys, and it was loud. I mean, with that size gym and everything, and they draw a good crowd, and you brought a good crowd, so it's tournament atmosphere.
Yeah, it's
really.
Tournament atmosphere, and we were banged up that night. I told our guys in the locker room that I thought in all the years I've coached, that might be one of the most special victories we've had, because we had kids step up that maybe not had that chance because we had kids out with injuries. So just a great atmosphere and a great win for our program.
Yeah, because before we went on the air here, I said, when you guys walked out, it looked like the walking wounded, because you had a lot of kids out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Drayden Thomas was out. Max Beal had a hurt knee, and he'd been starting. He was out. A.J. Field was out with the wrist injury, and Cameron Knott got hurt after hitting a couple of threes. And it's just, it was a walking wounded. So kids stepped up, and Gus Etchison had a great fourth quarter for us. And Caleb Bean had a great game. And Tyler Wildermann, 2 seniors that been around for us, came up big.
Yeah, and then you went to Cass, Coach, and I don't know too much about that game. I know Etchison had a good game and Bean and Field, but you came up on the short end there.
It's Cass is a very good basketball team. It's a conference game. We wanted to come out with a good start in the conference, and our kids were locked in. And Gus had a great game. I said that's his coming out party. That he really showed a lot of people what he can do, and he's a special player. And we've had a lot of talks with our team about him and the things that he can do. And our jerseys say Heights. They don't have people's names on them, and he's one of many of the guys that are going to make us click. But he's got a chance to be pretty special.
Yeah, but and then of course you came back and beat a good. I'm sorry, you won. I'm sorry, Cass. That was my fault. Yeah. And then you went to Delta, but Delta's 5-1. That's
Delta's 5-1. They're my best friend's their coach. We've known each other for years. That's his first year there. He used to be at Union County. It's disappointing because our guys weren't ready to play. They didn't handle the success that we had on Friday and carried it over and kind of hit a wall, and we got down 17. On the flip side of that, we're down 1 with the ball with a minute to go in the third quarter. So we had a chance and we fought back. As I told our guys, if you would have used all that energy the way we did on coming back at the start of the game, we win that game. So that's a game that we're going to look at. We're going to play them again in the sectional at some point probably. So we'll have another opportunity, but it's kind of a lesson for us to.
I'll bet you'll reference back to that game when you're facing
that. We'll reference that back.
If I was going into this weekend here, being Western and Noblesville, I'd be a little concerned about the Huskies, because if you look at your leading scorers, and first game was Beal, second game Cross, and then Wildermann was the third game, and then back to Cross again, and then Etchison, and then Field. I mean, this is not a one-man team.
Yeah, we got a lot of balance, and that's special. Michael Cross has done a really good job. Senior leader. He's kind of a do-it-all guy. Maybe doesn't have the best shot, but he finds a way for it to go in. He gets offensive rebounds. He's a good defender. Wildermann can go inside and out. We've got kind of a group. I said we've got a lot of interchangeable parts, and I've always said the only stat that I really look at is the end result.
Right.
I don't care if Michael Cross is our leading scorer all the time. We're gonna ride the guy that could get us there that night, and it's been Gus, it's been Caleb Bean, it's been Michael Cross, it's been Max Beal, it's been Tyler Wildermuth. I mean, we've got multiple interchangeable parts, and it's been pretty special. We've got to still put it all together and keep riding this out. And I really feel by the end of the year we're going to be a pretty solid basketball team.
Coach, but I've been around you for several years now, and you've had some very, very talented basketball players here that basically you had to lean on. That come crunch time, this is a little bit different this year, and I think at the end of a ball game when you call timeout, I think probably this. I don't watch every one of your games, but I'm pretty close with this program. But you call timeout at the end of the ball game, you got to have those other coaches guessing who that ball is going to go to at the end, and several options to go to when you're in that huddle.
We just had this talk as a staff last night. We're averaging about 12 or 13 more points than we did on some of those really good teams. Yeah. On the flip side of that, we're not as good defensively, so we've got to clean up the defensive side. But with all those great players we've had with Hunter Chris and Grant Weatherford, the Etheringtons, we're averaging a lot more points. So we've got more balanced players around that can score, and people have to guess who our options are going to be. So for us, it's about we've really got to start getting more stops on that defensive end.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times when you have those great scorers and everything, and those kids that can get the job done coming down the stretch there, and then you get in a situation with the game, you can't go to him because they're going to be defending him and double teaming him or whatever, and you're asking a kid that's not used to doing that. Well, that's not that way on this team this year.
That's right. We've had multiple kids step up. I mean, looking over, we've had Sam Wall come in and hit big threes. He hit 3 threes in the fourth quarter against Delta. He's one that we haven't mentioned. Cameron Knott had 19 with 5 threes against Newcastle. I mean, the list keeps going, and I told him it's a good thing, and it's competition, and competition makes you better.
Absolutely.
Friday night might be your night, and Saturday night might be somebody else's. So if you're playing well, we're going to ride it. If not, we're going to go to that next guy.
But I think, we've talked a lot about scoring here and everything, but, I've got to see you guys play 3 games, and then I'll have this game at when you play Noblesville here on Saturday. In fact, we even added that because we're doing, I think that Saturday night, Saturday we're doing an afternoon basketball game, the county wrestling meet, because this is the last county wrestling meet that they're going to have, and then we're doing the Tipton Westfield game, which is a big game. And so I said, well, I'll just go to Heights and I'll do that myself, because I think that's going to be a very good basketball game here. And me growing up in Noblesville and everything, people look at me really funny that when I say, well, they ask me, who was your rivalry back in the day when you were going to school at Noblesville? And, of course, they're thinking, kids today are thinking Carmel and Fishers. Of course, Southeastern didn't even exist. Right. Fishers was just a crossroad, and Carmel wasn't much at all. Westfield was small. So Heights was, because Heights sports have always risen to the occasion when they played Noblesville, and it goes back as far as the days with Tony Cook and I. It goes way back in those days. So this will be a big game. It's always great because this is the Husky Dome's another tough place to play in. I mean, you guys, when you get that band in here and you get the fans, you got some great loyal fans. I mean,
we do.
The one thing about it, there's some fans that have been coming to ball games. They can talk about the Tony Cooks and the Morgans and the McCoskies because they've been coming since.
That's right. We've got great community sport. It's we've got a lot of people that come every Friday and Saturday night where we're at, and it's a pretty special place. We get a nice crowd, and it's a community gathering still. We're still a little rural school out here that's mid-sized, but we're a community. Even though we've got multiple towns that make up our school, we've got tons of support, and it's a special place out here.
Well, let's talk about what's coming up here this season, because even after Western, which is, they're struggling a little bit this year, but when you go to Western, it's not an easy task ever. Okay?
No, it's not. We went up there 2 years ago, and they were really struggling, and we had to hit a couple shots at the end to pull it off. So it'll be a tough place to play.
And then we talked about Noblesville coming up, and they'll come up here, which is always a good game. But guys, Coach, then you play in a holiday tournament, and lo and behold, you play Floyd Central. Okay, so and they're sitting here 4-0, just beat the #1 team in the state, New Albany, with probably the premier basketball player in the state of Indiana, and probably got more people talking about that young man in Romeo Langford than it has been for a long time, and great players here, and then of course now who's in the second game on that?
Indianapolis, Roncalli, and Franklin County. So we got in this last year. One of my good friends is a coach at Roncalli and asked us to be a part of it, and it was actually at Floyd Central last year. And it's just a great way to play two good teams, no matter what bracket you fall into. Floyd's just on a really good run, but again, for a 3A basketball team, we probably won't see anybody better than Floyd all year. So
absolutely. Great
opportunity to see where we're at. Another reason why I do it, it's a regional format. You got to play in the morning and get the job done, and then you got to win another game that evening. So again, it's another way to get our body prepared and been in a routine to play like you'd be in a regional atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Great opportunity for us.
Then you come back at the first of the year, and you got a Northwestern team that's 5-0, and that athletic program has just exploded up there, and almost everything there.
Man, they got a transfer in that's a sophomore that's just unbelievable. He's gotten Division I offers, put up 30 and 40 points, I think, on a few nights. So we'll have our hands full. Come back January 6th, the next night, and we've got Twin Lakes, who's coming off a state runner-up, and maybe not as solid as they are last year, but Coach Adams has been there for like 28 years and does a great job. The one thing I want to mention about that, we're doing an alumni basketball game on January 6th. I'm trying to get all the few that played for the Huskies to come back. We're having a throwback alumni game at 3. And then
cool.
If people don't want to play in the game, they can still come and be a part of it. And we're going to announce everybody that night at the game. So I'm trying to get all the former Huskies back and kind of unite us and see some old faces maybe we haven't seen. But that's going to be January 6th against Twin Lakes.
Sounds like a great idea, and I know that's, the one thing about this community up here, like you said, the business community, the people in this community, everything revolves around the school and athletics, and that's a huge part. And now, do you go to Lapel?
Lapel's here. Lapel's here, so we'll have Lapel coming up after that. And it just doesn't get any easier. It's never easy to win a high school basketball game. You can throw out records, and Jimmy Howe just got selected to the Hall of Fame, so he'll be bringing his team here, and they're playing really well too. So
well deserved too.
Well deserved. 2-time state champions.
Yeah. And he was a great ball player, man. It was tough to. Because he's in my age group, and it was tough to go to Lapel and play them in that old gym over there, and then you got to play Western Boone and Sheridan both on the road. I mean, those are just places that the Sheridan program probably is not what it used to be, but that Sheridan basketball and the Hobbs and back in those old days, that was a huge thing there. So. Yeah, a lot of good things. Let's talk a little bit about some of these kids, because we've mentioned some of them, but I want to make sure that we, like you were talking about Wall, and you were talking about some of those guys that have, like Powell, that have come off the bench and give you good minutes and did the job that you needed to do, because there's a lot more to this game than just putting.
That's right.
Points on the board.
Our starting point guard's Hudson Hostetler, and what a great throwback point guard. He really doesn't look to score much. He just distributes the ball and done an outstanding job. We've had multiple nights he's had 7 and 8 assists, and he's not worried about scoring, and that's a real throwback player, because in today's world most kids want to be that scorer, and he is not worried about that. He's a great listener. He's a great student of the game, and he works really hard. So
you'll have him for a while.
We're going to have him for a while, so that's a plus. He had an outstanding summer for us, and that's a young backcourt when you put him and Gus Etchison out there. But that's one that we're looking forward to over the next few years.
And the one thing about that is, Coach, and I think some people don't realize how important that point guard is.
Yeah.
Okay, and distributing the basketball, because if you don't have guards that can see the floor well, you could be in big trouble.
Yeah, our system's kind of set up that way. We run a lot of specials and quick hitters, and so it's very important to us that we have a point guard that gets us into those. And Hudson's doing an outstanding job. I'm really pleased with him right now. It's with any young person, you got some hit and misses, and he's learning, but he's doing a really good job for us.
Let's talk about your young sophomore and Cameron Knott. Scored 19 points. Looked like he was going to have a great game at Guerin in that early second quarter, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he come down on his back very, very hard, and in fact, I thought it possibly could have been a concussion, because he came down there, and you've lost him for a little while, and then you haven't had Thomas all season long, which was a big part of your game last year.
That's losing Cameron was tough. He's a sophomore. He shot it well for us. He's one of those that can really stretch a defense out and made a difference for us. Was playing some JV quarters, but was in that mix of going varsity full time. We'd actually moved him up full time, and then he gets hurt. And he's day to day. He's able to do some shooting. He's not really doing a lot of running yet, so who knows when we're going to get him back. But when that happened, that's what I was afraid of. I thought it was a head injury, but it's a lower back, so I know eventually we'll get him back. And he's another one, it's a young one that's we plan on having around for a while.
Yeah. And, Tyler Wildermann has given you some good minutes, and he can come in there and bang. That's
he's a banger. I mean, that's, early on in the year, the first 2 games, he missed because he had a nose injury that reoccurred from last year and from football. And so we kind of had to move him slow, but then he came in against Newcastle and went for 19, I think. And, big game against Guerin, and he's able to score. He's just a mismatch because people want to put a small on him, maybe to guard him on the perimeter because he can shoot it, and we can put him in the post, and then he bangs on people. So just a real good kid who's working hard, and he's been special for us. He's a 3-year varsity player, and we've had to lean on him a lot.
Yeah, and the one thing when you're a big kid like him, it seems like when the referees are looking, they kind of look and who's standing out there, and it's him or some other big fellow, and you get a foul call on you. You gotta look. What? There was 2 or 3 in there, and
he's
and
always
you pick
one
him.
that sticks out a little bit, but he's done a good job.
Well, Coach, anyone else you want to mention on this list?
We've had good leadership. Grant Laportevans, a senior that's came on, and he's given us some good quarters. He can shoot the 3 well, and he's really shot the ball at times really well. So we've got to ride him. He had I think he had 8 points in the first quarter the other night against Cass, and
he looked good at Guerin in the spot he met you.
He's really looked to improve his game in the past. We could say Grant was only a 3-point shooter, but he's able to get the ball to the bucket. He's added that dimension. So we've gotten some good senior leadership out of him. Dawson Pfeiffer came to us last year. He's a hard worker. He's a senior. I told this senior group, we've got 8 seniors. I've been a head coach 18 years. I've only kept that many 3 times. And the other 2 times I did, there were teams that went like 18-3 and 17-3. So it's rare. But they're such good kids, and they worked hard. I told them I'd keep them all, and you got to figure out roles because everybody can't be scores and everybody can't play 32 minutes. And I've been pleased that group has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat maybe to some of the younger guys, but they're still getting their time and they're working hard, and that's why we're going to have a chance to be successful.
Well, I think the important thing is, and the one thing that I see you building up here is they pretty well understand this is a team, okay? And everyone, when they get their opportunity to go in the ball game, you have the opportunity to contribute, and that's what's important.
That is important.
It's a big W at the end.
It is. That's what's important. I've tried to. We want to include everybody. We've all got roles. Sometimes it's not the role you actually want, but to be successful, that's what has to be done. And we try to make sure we talk to each one of them and they understand what they're doing. But everybody's important. And I say that a lot. It says Heights on our jerseys. And if kids don't want to be a part of that or do that, we're still going to move on. We're still going to have a good program, and somebody else will move into that spot. And I've been pleased. We're very fortunate. I feel very privileged to run this program and get the type of kids that we do, and they buy into what we want. And it's a great school. It's a special place, and I'm extremely happy here.
Well, Coach, I thank you for taking time here today. I know you got a busy schedule. Practice early or late today?
We're later today.
Okay. It kind of does it vary, or do you always?
It varies. Our girls have a game today,
well,
so
right.
I say later. We're on an early release, but we're going to go at 3 o'clock, and we'll be off the court by 5, so the girls can take over.
Yeah. It's one of the disadvantages and advantages of being in a small school.
That's right. That's right.
But the atmosphere is great. Coach, I'm excited about coming up here on Saturday to do this Hamilton Heights Noblesville game, which we're trying some new things where it'll be a first. I'm going to run the camera and broadcast with my headphones on, okay, and someone else is going to keep a scoreboard. So, and then we'll be doing some things back at the studio. So it's kind of fun doing it this way, and we'll get it out there on Periscope and YouTube, and Facebook, and hopefully we'll have good numbers. And on this game on January 5th, we'll do our best, and maybe we can get up here and help you promote that. And sounds like fun, bringing the old alumni back. I know quite a bit of those guys.
Yes, we want to get that word out. That's the hard part, is trying to get the word out to all those people. But with today's world of social media, and I'm actually meeting with some people later today about getting it out, tweeting it out, and getting all the things out. It's we've done a lot of research with Heights basketball. I put a little book together, and a record book, and a year by year, and I love looking through that. That's the history of our school.
Absolutely.
And people love to see that, and it doesn't matter if you scored 2 points or 1,600. So you're a part, and you're a history of Heights basketball, and I think that's important.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.